Hello and welcome to Change Your Love Story to Change Your Love Life. Please let me know in the chat if you're able to hear me well. I want to make sure that we're all set with the audio. And as people are still making their way into the room, please introduce yourself in the chat and let us know where you're watching from today. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're new to my community, I extend a very warm welcome to you. I'm Jennifer Zundel, a certified Calling in the One coach and author of the book, Dear Beloved, Manifesting Love Journal, The Daily Practices to Attract Your Soulmates. I support singles to identify and release the hidden inner obstacles that have been keeping love away so that you can finally call in the love that you're meant to have. Calling in the One is a transformational process created by my mentor, Catherine Woodward Thomas, and it's already helped hundreds of thousands of people around the world to create powerful breakthroughs in love. And I'm deeply honored that now I get to guide others through this work, including you, as you open to the true possibility to create love in your life. I'd like to ask you to be generous with yourself and with me today. There's so much that I want to share with you, and I want to make sure that we have time for your questions. So plan to stay on with us for about 75 minutes, and we'll have time for some Q&A at the end of the call. You might also want to grab pen and paper because you're probably going to want to take some notes. So let's take a minute to really arrive here. I invite you to turn off distractions, silence your phone, close other windows on your computer, and let go of multitasking because your love life matters, your heart matters, and this time is for you. You're here because something in you still believes in love, even if you've been disappointed, hurt, or had your hopes dashed in the past, and that desire for love is where the transformation begins. So take a minute and check in. And you might even close your eyes here for a minute just to check in with your heart right now. What would it mean for you to truly have love this year? It might mean waking up next to someone who adores you and shares your values. It might mean feeling safe and chosen in a relationship. It might mean feeling that you are truly inspiring the people around you, showing your friends and your family and your children what happy, healthy love truly looks like. So you having love truly matters. And that's what we're here for today. Today, we're going to be talking about something truly life-changing, how to transform your love story so that you can finally attract and keep the love that you desire. Because if you're like most singles I support, there's a part of you that deeply desires a healthy, committed, loving partnership. But there may also be something in the way from what's allowing that to happen. And often what's in the way isn't something external out there, but rather it's often an internal block in the form of an unconscious story that you've been living inside of. A story about why love hasn't worked out for you, a story you've been telling yourself about what's possible or not possible for you in having love. So let me ask you this. Have you ever caught yourself thinking something like, I guess love just isn't meant for me? Maybe I'm too much or not enough, or the people that I like just don't like me. If something like that has ever crossed your mind, go ahead and drop a yes in the chat. Let us know. And you're not alone. You know that there are other people as well who often have these kinds of thoughts. And here's the thing, when you're living inside of a limiting story, your love life will continue to reflect that, no matter how much you want something different. But the reality is that you can write a new story. And when you change your story, your love life begins to change too. So today I'd like to walk you through how that can happen. Today, we're going to explore what I mean by your love story, why it matters, and how it's creating your reality in love. I'll share how you can begin identifying the story that you've been living inside of, even if you're not totally sure what it is yet. And we're going to look at a few real life examples of people who have changed their stories and gone on to create the love that they previously thought they would never have. And then I'll invite you to reflect on your own story and what new story might be wanting to emerge for you. I'm also going to be sharing with you about an opportunity to go deeper with me through my upcoming 8-week Calling in the One group coaching program. That program is transformational. and it can support you in clearing the love blocks that have been keeping love away so that you can finally manifest the relationship that you're meant to have. And for those who stay on until the end of the call, I'll be sharing a special gift with you, a resource to help you start shifting your love story right away. And then finally, I'll be opening up the conversation for Q&A at the end. So as we go along, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And during the Q&A, I'll scroll back and answer as many as I can. Does that sound good? Let me know. Eva's shaking her head yes. Very good. Thank you so much for letting me know. So let's begin by talking about what I'm calling your love story. This is the internal narrative, often unconscious, that you've been living inside of when it comes to having love. And it's shaped by your past experiences, by the ways that you've been hurt, disappointed, or made to feel like love wasn't safe or lasting or even possible for you. And whether you're fully aware of it or not, this story has likely been quietly influencing your love life for years. And it shows up in the thoughts that you have, particularly in moments when you're feeling triggered, nervous, anxious, doubtful about your relationships. And these thoughts might sound something like, I guess love just isn't meant for me. All the good ones are taken. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I just live in the wrong place. This story has most likely been sabotaging your chances for happy, healthy love because the unconscious internal narrative can influence the people that you're drawn to, what you tolerate or avoid in your relationships, and it can even influence your body language and your energy when you're connecting with someone new. And so this is how these false stories we tell ourselves then become a self-fulfilling prophecy and create our love life. So let me ask you, can you already sense that you may have a story about what is possible for you in love that you've been living inside of that's quietly sabotaging your love life? If something comes to mind about what your story might be, feel free to type it in the chat. Engagement in the chat is always fun, and it lets me know how you're receiving what I'm saying, as well as it's going to help you process what I'm saying more clearly. So let's get some engagement in the chat. I love seeing that you're already doing that. Thank you. So let's continue. So the Calling in the One program is different from typical dating advice. Most dating advice focuses on external strategies for finding love, things like improving your dating profile, which is wonderful, and learning how to flirt, which is needed, and navigating conversations between men and women, and all of these are helpful. But the problem is if you put all your efforts into those areas and love still isn't happening for you, you may come to some painful and false conclusions about what's really possible for you in love. And so those false assumptions are then keeping you stuck because if you're carrying around an inner story that says love isn't safe or it's too painful to risk again, then no surface amount of level efforts will create the healthy love that you long for. Because if you're carrying around an inner story that says love isn't safe or that it's too painful, then you're just going to close down to anything new that may come your way. The deeper patterns and beliefs that have been standing in the way from the love that you desire. That's what we're looking to uncover and transform. We go inward to the root of how you're creating your relationships. And here's what I want to introduce here, a powerful concept from the Calling in the One process. And it's what we call your false love identity. This identity, this a sense of self really, is formed often in your early life based on a misunderstanding of your worth and your value. A misunderstanding based on things that may have happened. Maybe someone important didn't show up for you the way that you needed. Maybe love felt inconsistent or painful or conditional. And somewhere deep inside of you, you might have made that mean something about yourself. Something like, I'm not lovable. I'm not enough. I always have to work hard to get attention and be chosen. And so from that place, you may have begun living inside of a story that simply wasn't true. And that's your false love identity. It's not who you really are. The good news is that you can begin to shift this sense of self. You can begin to center yourself in your authentic value. And this is what we would call your true love identity. And when that happens, everything begins to change. You start to feel a new sense of worthiness, confidence, possibility. You start feeling more attractive. And this is what changes your energy. It changes how you walk into a room. It changes how you hold yourself in the presence of someone that you're attracted to. Centering in your true love identity instantly and with much less effort, you begin attracting different people, making different choices, and actually showing up in new ways that are aligned with the love that you desire. And that's where we're beginning today. Rewriting the story that you've been telling yourself, a story where you're no longer repeating the past, you're no longer fearing repetition of your past patterns, but instead you're becoming magnetic to what you truly deserve. That's the plot twist. We're going to write a plot twist into your love story. I see Eva likes that idea. So, what would it be like for you if you no longer had to work so hard to prove your value in love? Just take a breath and think about that. What would that be like if you didn't have to work so hard or worry about being chosen or worry about performing, right? Wouldn't it be liberating? Let's talk for a moment about your pattern in love. Most of us live inside of a familiar storyline when it comes to relationships, one that repeats even when the people might seem different initially. It can feel like once you start repeating the pattern and they start showing up again, the same as all the other people in your past. It may feel like, here we go again, the same theme is playing out, no matter how hopeful I was at the start. That's your pattern. You meet someone new, they seem different initially, and you think this time is going to be different. This might be the one. But somehow the story ends the same, with the similar kind of disappointment and pain. Can anyone relate to this? If so, you're not alone. And so we want to be curious. How does this keep happening? Maybe for you. So let's look at what the pattern is. What is it that keeps happening? Because we want to see how we might be creating these patterns from the inside out. And so to get clear on how we might be doing that, we first have to be clear on what the pattern is. What is it that's actually happening as a theme that seems to keep showing up again and again? Maybe, for example, people always cheat on you, or they just pull away as soon as you start to make a real connection. Maybe they take you for granted, or they're just not emotionally available or ready for something that you want to have, a committed relationship that deepens and grows. And so here's where we need to shift from confusion to being curious. When the same pattern repeats again and again, we have to ask ourselves, how might I be unconsciously creating this pattern? And this isn't about blaming ourselves. Instead, it's about empowering ourselves. Because if we are the common denominator in our love story, in our relationships, then that means we also have the power to change it. So let's get curious and see if we can start to access our power. So look, for example, the things that might be repeating here, right? That might be, you might be contributing to your relationships. That might also be a pattern. Maybe, for example, you're drawn to unavailable people. Maybe you give more than you receive. Maybe you get ghosted and or no one asks you out at all, even when you're really putting yourself out there and making a really true good effort. So we want to see, what are the patterns that are happening for you. Take a breath, and if it feels right, share it in the chat. And know that you're not alone. No matter what pattern you're experiencing, you are not alone. Just naming it with love and being honest, though, is a powerful step forwards. These patterns aren't random. They're not just happening to you, they're happening through you. They're being shaped by old fears, old beliefs, old stories we've been carrying around, often without realizing it. And when you bring compassionate awareness to the stories, that's when you can begin to create a miracle in your love life. I want to share a bit of my story with you as an example, not because it's, out of the ordinary or anything like that, but rather in some ways the opposite, because I think you might be able to relate to my story and see parts of yourself in my story. And so as I share, I invite you to really listen, not just to my words, but listen with your heart and see what parts of my story feel familiar to you. What echoes can you really resonate with for yourself? So before I found Calling in the One, my love story went something like this. The men that I liked didn't seem to notice me. And the ones who, if I was interested in them, they just didn't even see me. And the ones that I wasn't interested in, I was a magnet for those ones, right? I was really a magnet for the ones I wasn't interested in. But it felt like I was invisible to the people that I was interested in. And so if by chance I did connect with someone that I actually liked, and if we actually started dating, which happened rarely, but if it did, I would panic. I would get so scared I would end the relationship, even though I didn't want to. That sounds a little crazy, right? And now I know this might sound confusing. I was confused as well. Why would I break up with someone that I liked? But at the time, it truly, honestly felt like something in my body took over. It was like this fear was stronger than my desire for a relationship. And so my body was driving the decision, not my conscious mind. And then after the relationship ended, I would feel devastated and confused because I had ended it clearly. So I was the one who had made that happen. That was easy for me to see. And yet I was very confused about what to do differently to create what I wanted. And I couldn't also understand why I was doing it. I couldn't understand how to stop doing it because, like I said, my body was in charge more than my mind. And it wasn't until I found Calling in the One that I began to understand what was really happening. I wasn't damaged. There wasn't something wrong with me. Instead, I was really sabotaging myself unconsciously, not on purpose. I had simply internalized a false love identity, this false sense of self in relationships, one that had taken root deep in my body, and it was really influencing my sense of self in relationships. And so that's what I really want to help you begin to see for yourself today. Because the beliefs that we carry around about love, they don't live in our minds. They actually settle into the energy of our body and they crystallize into a sense of identity. We start to define ourselves by our experiences and assume that's just how things are for me. We say things like, I'm just shy. I never attract the good ones. I'm never the one who gets chosen, right? These aren't just thoughts. They're actually stories that we've woven into who we think we are, even when they're not really true. And that's what can feel so hard to change. And it's why it feels so hard to change your pattern, even when you really want to. And you might try to think more positively. You might repeat affirmations and visualize love. Anyone here repeating some affirmations? And yet, those old beliefs are still living in your body because you're saying affirmations from your mind. This is why affirmations are not very effective. And you may not be getting the results that you want just by saying your affirmation 50 times a day. And so the deeper patterns that we really find ourselves in are actually coming from a root that is really rooted in our energy. And that's why the Calling in the One program, we work at the somatic level of your energy, helping you shift the energy, the emotional center that's actually living in your body and getting triggered in moments of disappointment, in moments of nervousness and doubt. And that's where we really want to do the deeper work because that's the center of you that's creating your love life. This is why we're actually creating love from the inside out by aligning with your true value and becoming someone who can receive the kind of relationship that you truly want. And so when you shift this inner state, your beliefs and your energy really start to shift and actually match what your heart wants. So coming back to my story, I had repeated this experience, right, with men that I was interested in who didn't seem to notice me, and the ones that I wasn't interested in, they were the ones that were pursuing me, right? This back and forth is what I was experiencing. And so when I started the Calling in the One program, I began looking at my deeper assumptions, the stories I was telling myself about what was possible for me in love. And that's when I discovered a belief I hadn't really acknowledged before. And yet it was really feeling true in my body. It was the belief that men didn't want me. In the Calling in the One program, this is the false love identity, a belief about yourself that feels true, but it actually isn't. And so inside of that story, I was acting in ways that created what I thought was evidence that supported that belief without even realizing what I was doing. And I couldn't really see it. You know, we often can't see our own blind spots for ourselves. And so that belief that men didn't want me made me really afraid of being rejected, afraid to be seen, afraid to be vulnerable. And so once I began to see what this belief was causing me to do and how it was causing me to behave out in the world with men that I was attracted to, I saw some really interesting things. Unconsciously, I was pushing away the men that I was interested in. Of course, breaking up with them, that was an obvious one. But let me give you a few more examples. If I was at a party and I saw an attractive man there, I would avoid eye contact. I wouldn't smile at him. If we were in a group conversation, I would shut down. I even saw myself turning my back on a man that I was attracted to, or even walking out of the room just because there was an attractive man in the room. That's a little crazy behavior, right? And yet, I think all of us do some of these things. All of us do some of these things that intentionally sabotage love because our false love identity is running the show. Deep down, I had already decided that this man wouldn't be interested in me. And so that belief was shaping my behavior, and it was shaping my energy. And what I was projecting to these men was that I wasn't interested. And so, of course, they wouldn't ask me out. In fact, they might not have even noticed that I was in the room if I'd left the room. They wouldn't even have seen me at the party. And so, meanwhile, I was a magnet for the men that I wasn't interested in because I was my relaxed, normal, friendly self around them. So, of course, why wouldn't a man be attracted to that kind of energy, right? And so, that's the truth here, though, is when we're centered in our true love identity, we actually feel safe. We feel worthy, and we're naturally attractive. We're naturally magnetic. And so that's the energy that draws love in. And I couldn't really see this pattern clearly until I started to dig deeper and see how to change it. So let's talk about how these false love identities are formed, because it's not like we wake up one day and decide, I think men just don't like me today. Right? That's just not how this happens. And so these beliefs instead are usually formed at a much earlier time in our life in response to something painful or confusing that we experienced as children. And often it happens with our caregivers, with our parents, or at school, or in social situations. And so we start to share and live from that center that we mistakenly think is true. So I have a story to share with you from my own life. When I was in second grade, I had a big crush on a boy in my class, and his name was Rudy. And I clearly remember Valentine's Day that year. I was so excited and hoping for a Valentine from Rudy. And so I opened the Valentine card and it says, "You are number one on my list of Valentines." That sounds amazing, right? But yet, as an 8-year-old, I didn't understand abbreviations, and it was written as an abbreviation. It was written as NO period numeral one. And so I understood that this Valentine said, "You are no one on my list of Valentines." I was devastated. I went home sobbing to my mother, telling my mother, "Rudy says I'm no one on his list of Valentines." And my mother gently explained, no, this is an abbreviation. He says you're number one on his list of Valentines. And you'd think that that would make me feel better, right? But it didn't. Because here's what happened. In my mind, I did not say this to my mom. I wish I had, but I didn't. In my mind, I said, yeah, well, I'm really smart. And if I didn't know that was an abbreviation, he didn't either. And that's what he meant. He meant you're no one. So you see, I decided for him what he meant. I don't know what he meant. He maybe knew what abbreviations were. Maybe someone had explained to him, but I didn't even give him the benefit of the doubt. Instead, I just assumed something about me and I assumed something about him, and it was the worst. I came to the worst conclusion. And that belief stayed with me for years. And here's the thing, we all do this, even now as adults. We all fill in the blanks for information that we don't have. And most of the time, we assume the worst. Someone doesn't text us back, or they cancel a date, or they seem distracted, and we make it mean I'm not lovable. They're losing interest. They don't want me. And we can't even see it happens so fast. We're not even aware of how fast it happens. It happens in less than a second. And that's when we slide down into that false sense of self. And then we operate from there. And what we do in response to that belief is then going to create what happens next in the relationship. We're not seeing reality. We're not seeing the story that we're inside of. And we play that story out over and over again. This is how the false love identities are formed and how they continue to shape our lives unless we bring awareness to them and really intentionally shift them. And so in the Calling in the One program, we use a powerful 7-step process to help you shift into your true love identity, the part of you that knows your worth and you're wanted and you're deeply lovable. And so once I began to question that belief that men didn't want me, I started to see what was actually true. My soulmate is a man who wants me with every fiber of his being. That's really the definition of a soulmate, right? And so when I was truly centered in that reality, that truth, not just in my mind, but in my body, everything began to change. I started showing up differently. If a man didn't give me any attention in the moment, I didn't spiral into self-doubt. I didn't assume the worst. I gave people grace and I stayed centered in my worth and my value. And when I saw someone I was attracted to, I made eye contact. I smiled. I stayed present. And the energy that I was putting out shifted. Men started crossing the room to talk to me at parties. I found it really easy to have fun conversations and be fully myself, even with attractive men. And now I'm a magnet for great men everywhere I go, not just because I'm doing anything special, but because I'm really aligned with my true love identity. It's easy and relaxed, and I have men asking me out everywhere I go in ordinary places. Seriously, the grocery store, the gas station, in line at the movies. Men are asking me out. Wouldn't that be fun? Especially if you're someone who doesn't want to do online dating. I understand. And yet you still need to learn how to show up from your true love identity. Whether you're doing online dating or meeting people organically, it's the same answer here. We have to learn how to show up from our true love identity. And this is how you can quickly change your experience in love. It doesn't need to take 20 years to figure this out. So it's essential that you feel the shift, not just mentally, but deep in your body at the somatic, energetic level of your being. But beyond that, we also need to see how your false love identity has been influencing your actions and your choices and your behaviors, often in ways that are unintentionally sabotaging your chances for love. And once you connect with your true love identity, you would naturally behave differently. You would naturally make different choices and actions that would really align with having love. So I'm curious as I'm sharing this, what are you noticing for yourself so far? What parts of your pattern feel similar to my pattern? Are there ways that you can see yourself in my story? And what false beliefs or limiting beliefs might you be holding about yourself, about your worthiness for having love? What beliefs might you have about men or women and how they feel about you? And here's the key. You won't find these beliefs when you're feeling your best. And so it might actually be hard to actually identify them here on the call because right now you're probably feeling fine. Right now, you're not sitting at a cafe. I imagine you're probably not sitting at a cafe with an attractive man or woman standing next to you that you hope is going to notice you. You're probably not having an experience. I mean, maybe you are, but I don't know. You probably didn't have someone just break up with you this morning. And so what that means is in this moment, you're probably not triggered and disappointed and upset. And it can be harder to identify your false beliefs if you're not feeling disappointed, triggered, and upset, right? So we have to start to see that we have to step into a moment when you were feeling triggered, when you were feeling disappointed, when things didn't go as you hoped, when you were feeling nervous that someone wouldn't choose you. That's when your false love identity gets activated. In those moments, those are the make or break moments that decide how the future of that connection will go. And so when you're worried about being rejected, when you're fearing that someone doesn't like you, that's when your false love identity shows up the most clearly. And so I'm wondering what you're seeing for yourself. If you're willing to share in the chat, then that would be helpful. We can't change what we don't see. And this is the first step, really, in recognizing and changing your story. It's the first step in a 7-step process to shift into your true love identity so that you can create what you desire. Now, I want to share with you another story because maybe you related to my story, but maybe yours feels different. And hearing different stories can help us see our own situation more clearly. So I'd like to tell you about Kate. Before Kate came to the Calling in the One program, she was engaged to a wonderful man, but then she met Jack, who was very charismatic, and she became deeply enamored with him. And so she broke off her engagement with the other man to be with Jack. And Kate also really wanted children. And so she was waiting for Jack to commit, to get married, and start the family she had longed for. But Jack kept saying that he wasn't ready. And so he postponed again and again. And then one day, Kate went to her doctor, and her doctor explained to her that she had missed her chance to have children, that it was too late. And so she went home and expecting to share with Jack and expecting him to be supportive. However, what happened is a few months later, Jack broke up with her because he decided he was finally ready for children. And so within 6 months, he had married a younger woman and she was pregnant. And you can imagine how furious Kate was because she felt she had wasted years waiting for Jack to step up and commit, only to lose her chance at having love and to miss her chance of having children. And so she blamed him. And you might relate to that it's very easy to blame the other person. It's very easy to see the other person's faults and how they're contributing to the challenges. And yet, if Kate stayed focused on Jack's faults, she wouldn't have been able to change her story. Because if all we're doing is focusing on the external things, remember I said that calling in the one is not focused on external things. As long as we're focusing on the external challenges, then you're giving your power away. And this is about reclaiming your power to actually create what you want. And so even if it's 97% the other person's fault, really all we're interested in is looking at your 3%. What can you be responsible for? And so when Kate did that, she uncovered her false love identity, this belief, this deep belief that she had, I am never the chosen one. And so that belief drove her to do some things that were sabotaging her chances at love. That belief was driving her to overfunction, overcommit, overgive, sacrifice her dreams, all to prove her value. She was really just auditioning for the role of being a wife. And it was guaranteeing that she wouldn't be chosen. That belief led her to move across the country for a man who wasn't even committing to her. So she was overgiving, entirely focusing on him, and she twisted herself into a pretzel, trying to be what she thought he wanted. And so when Kate took responsibility for her part in how she created this relationship, her life began to change. She claimed her true love identity. I am deeply worthy of being chosen by a man who commits to me and makes me a priority. And so, feeling this at her core, she started to align with the love that she desired. And she started to show up in new ways, make new choices for her life. She really committed to her own dreams and expected that any man that she dated would do the same. And this shifted everything for her. Kate eventually met a wonderful man who proposed, and together they adopted a daughter. So she did get her happily ever after ending. But none of this could have happened if she hadn't really seen what was driving her pattern in love, that false love identity, and how it had shaped her behavior and kept her stuck. If she'd continued blaming Jack, she never would have been able to change this pattern and attract the man who truly did choose her. And so I'm wondering, what parts of Kate's story are you resonating with here? Have you noticed any similar patterns for yourself in your own love story? So really, this is the heart of the work. We have to start to see the story you've been telling yourself. What's your part then in how does that story that you're telling yourself then influence your actions, your choices, and your behaviors that may be sabotaging your chances for love? Right? What story are you telling yourself about what's possible for you in love? And how have these false beliefs really taken over your life and rooted deep down inside of your sense of self and what you feel is possible? And just as importantly, we really have to see how that's influencing our actions and our choices and our behaviors that then sabotage us. So let's take a moment now. I'm curious, what are you noticing about your own story? Please share and let us know. Really, honesty is the first step in awareness here in really shifting what's possible. And while you're sharing your thoughts in the chat, I really want to warmly invite you to something special. I'm offering an upcoming 8-week Calling in the One group coaching program. It's a deep heart-centered journey where I'm going to guide you step by step through a 7-step process to transform your love identity at the somatic energetic level. We've really just covered a few of these steps today, the 7-step process. And really, this is a powerful process that we go deep to at the energetic level of your body. And so really, I'm just talking about the what today, but in the program, we really go deep on how. How can you actually apply this in your life? How? And I guide you through actually naming what's your false love identity. And this will be an intimate group of no more than 12 people so that you'll get plenty of personalized one-on-one support from me. And there's space to share and ask questions and receive live coaching from me. And so, what you'll uncover during the program, actually, we have seen in the Calling in the One group, we've seen that there are 21 core false love identities, and each one influences behaviors and actions and choices in unique ways. And so, once you've clearly, through my support, named your specific false love identity, you're going to see, it's going to be very easy to see how it's been shaping your love life. And so, just a few examples of false love identities. I'm not safe in love. I'm always going to be alone. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not wanted. I'm invisible. Now, these might all sound similar, but each one has its own unique flavor, and it influences actions and choices and behaviors in unique ways. And so that's why it's so important to name what yours is specifically so that we can see very clearly how it's influencing your actions, your choices, and your behaviors. What I love about this program, I go saw a message, Eva, are you not able to hear me still? Has my audio gone out? Can you hear me a little more? It seems like you're saying, yes, you can hear me. So it might be something on Eva's end. Okay, Marie says you can hear me. Thank you so much. So Eva, if you're not hearing me, it might be something on your end, Eva. So each one of these false love identities is unique to the specific behaviors, patterns, and actions, right? And so we want to see specifically what yours is because it's then going to give us so much clarity about how it's showing up in your relationships. What I love so much about Calling in the One is it's this unique combination of spiritual work, transformational personal growth work with practical, what do I actually do on my dates differently? That's what I love. This is not just some concept, abstract, woo-woo thing. It's actually what do you do on your dates differently so that you're actually putting it into practice and changing your relationships. This is why it's so powerful to change your life very quickly, right? So just as an example, when we're talking about the uniqueness of each false love identity, so for example, someone with an I'm not good enough identity often compares themselves to someone else and feels like they're falling short. They feel like they have to do more just to be good enough, right? But yet someone with an I'm not wanted false love identity is not going to do that. Instead, they're going to be like I was, avoiding things or breaking up with people, because they think I have to reject them first before they can reject me, which is what I was doing. They're going to distance themselves, someone with an I'm not wanted story, right? So each one of these stories is very unique, and we want to see what yours is so that we can quickly change it. So when we uncover your false love identity and what it's been causing you to do, then we're going to get you grounded in your true love identity so that you can really feel deep in your body and start living that new sense of self. And so from that center, we have a new, easy, clear roadmap about exactly what are the new choices that you can now make? What are the new actions that you can now take? What are the new behaviors that you can actually show up and do that will support you to have love in your life? So as well, we're going to then map out what are the skills that you now need to learn in order to do those things. This is why it's so practical, right? This process is so very much hands-on, practical, and concrete, not abstract. We're not talking about mindset shifts. We're not talking about saying affirmations all day. This is what sustains transformation and makes it possible. So, transforming your love life is not rocket science. I know it might feel like that, but it's not, right? So many people really want love, but they feel stuck. But the challenge is they just don't know how to change the inner blocks that are in the way. And so I'm here to pull back the curtain and reveal that it's not so difficult. It's not about luck. It's not about magic. It's instead about having a clear system. And so I'll help you name your false love identity clearly and understand exactly how it's been in creating your love life through your actions, your choices, and your behaviors. And I'll support you to really feel in your body your true love identity and map out what it feels like for you to naturally do things differently and in ways that actually feel good for you, that feel natural and normal for you. That's what's so exciting here. So now that you have a sense of how this transformation can happen, let's bring it back to you right here, right now. Before we move forward, I want you to take a minute to check in with yourself and your own love story. This next part will help you get clearer on the patterns, the feelings, the beliefs that have been running your love life so that you can start to see them from a new perspective. So even take a minute here and close your eyes if you feel safe to do so and gently access the story that you've been living inside of. And the way to do that is to recall a moment when you felt disappointed, hurt, in love, and see that there was a story, an assumption that you had about that. This emotional center in your body, see where it lives, focusing specifically on your torso, your belly, your solar plexus, your chest. And notice, what were you assuming in that moment about your possibility for love? If there was an I am story, what were you assuming about yourself? For example, I'm always going to be alone. Nobody wants me. I'm not enough. Love isn't safe for me. Men just want to take advantage of me. Women just want my money. What were you assuming in response to this difficult experience? And if you see it, go ahead and open your eyes and share with us in the chat if you're willing to do so, if it feels safe for you to share in the chat. And you're not alone, no matter what it was that you have seen. Everyone has some type of limiting false belief that they're running inside of. But your transformation starts by really bringing awareness to this story that you're living inside of. And we want to see if we can access the power to change that story. And if you weren't able to identify it, that's normal as well. This often is a lot easier to see when we have guided support to do it and we have the space and time to go deep. And right now we're kind of moving a little quickly, so you may not have really had the space and time to access it at a deep level. And so really, I'm just giving an overview here today of a process. But we really want to see that there is a part of you that is already whole and powerful and knows your value. That's your higher self, that part of you that knows your value and your worth and your better moments, right? So it's like this ping pong experience that you're having. And I like to share about it like in a way. So when you're having a moment where you're feeling disappointed or nervous or that someone isn't going to choose you, doubtful, triggered, in that moment, it's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming, it takes over your body. And you may even find yourself doing things that you know aren't in your best interest. Like I was breaking up with men I liked. Clearly that wasn't helpful, right? And so we do things that we know aren't going to help us. And it causes us, it's so overwhelming that we have an experience of feeling the fight, flight, or freeze response. One of those is going to happen. We either run away, we start to argue, we push back, or we freeze up and we don't know what to do. And yet, any action that we do in that energy is going to sabotage things. And so the challenge is once that moment has passed and you're no longer in that fight, flight, or freeze response, let's think about, for example, let's say you're out at the grocery store and there's an attractive person there and you get the block up, fight, flight, or freeze, or maybe you leave and go to the next aisle like I would have done before, right? I would have just left. So something happens, you have some type of reaction to that moment, and then you get home later and the moment has passed and you're kicking yourself. Why did I do that? Why did I act like that? Because now you're back. Now the fight, flight, or freeze moment has passed. Now you've returned to your normal self that knows your value and knows your worthiness and knows what's possible for you. So it's this ping pong experience. And what we need is we need to, actual tools to interrupt, to do a pattern interrupt in the moment so that you can actually show up centered in your value in the moment rather than experiencing the fight, flight, or freeze response. And so that's what this process gives you. The 7-step process gives you a tool to interrupt in the moment to get yourself out of that fight, flight, or freeze response, right? So you have the power to change this, right? You have the power to change this, and it doesn't need to take the rest of your life to figure this out, right? We have to shift this deeply, though, at the somatic, energetic level of your body, right? Because that's where this pattern is happening from. That's the root of your pattern in love. That's the root of your pattern in love. So what would it feel like to actually be able to go out in the world if you were truly centered in your true love identity and you really felt that at your core, how would your presence change in those types of moments that you previously would have had the fight, flight, or freeze response in? How would your experience change in your love life? Right? So if you were truly centered in your value in those moments, showing up at a singles event when someone's attractive there, going on a date with someone that you're really interested in, meeting new people. What would be different for you in those types of moments if you truly were centered in your value, right? I imagine, right, just hearing this already brings more hope, right? Just hearing that this is actually possible to change. Like this could actually work. You might begin to let go of anxiety a little bit, knowing that love is really possible. Once you clear out those old beliefs, you can start creating a new life of love rather than resisting love, rather than running from love, rather than fearing love. You can start to step into your true potential and start hearing as well. This is the important part here. You can start hearing your intuition more that will guide you to meet your person. You can start hearing the signs from life more about where to go to meet your person. This is partly how you become magnetic to love, because you actually start to have access to new input, new sources of information, new ways that life is actually wanting to bring you love and trying very hard. Here's the truth, though. You cannot manifest happy, healthy love if you're secretly carrying a fear that you don't deserve it. It's just not possible. It's going to be very hard. And so if you effortlessly want to quickly change your love life and you want to meet great potential partners everywhere you go easily, then this is the number one shift to make. And so, let's see what some people are really saying in the chat, right? That you're seeing that you have some beliefs that you're not enough or nobody wants you, you're not chosen, you don't matter. So interesting, little more. So you have several in there. Those are all different, by the way. So you've named 4 false love identities. I'm not enough. Nobody wants me. I don't matter. I'm not chosen. Those are four very common false love identities. And yet they're all different. And so they're all influencing you in specific ways. And so it would, in order to really get traction quickly, you want to see which one is the one that's the biggest one, the one that actually feels the worst and causes the most challenges for you. And we want to work on that one all the way through the 7-step process. And then the others are going to fall away like dominoes. That's why it's so important to get very clear on the specific one that's causing the most problems in your love life, right? So I want to really take a moment here and ask, are you wondering, like, how do I actually live this transformation, right? Not just understand it conceptually, but actually embody it every single day. The how. How do I do this? Well, that's exactly what the Calling in the One group program can support you with. And so I'll be guiding a small group of individuals through an 8-week group coaching journey. And we start on Wednesday, July 23rd. So that's this coming Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Adjust for your time zone wherever you are in the world. And I even have people in Europe, I even have people in the UK that join me and even sometimes stay up in the middle of the night because they find the calls so valuable. But there will be recordings if you're not someone who wants to stay up. And then I also have a bonus with 2 Saturday morning sessions, particularly for people that really want support at a time that works better for you. Right? So in these live Zoom sessions, I'll be walking you through the exact practices and repatterning tools that we've been talking about with deep support, accountability, and a heart-centered community that's really rooting for your breakthrough. And so if this resonates for you, just type I'm ready in the chat. We're going to see who's feeling lit up and really excited about moving forward with this kind of support, because it can happen fast. Calling in the program is really 8 weeks, and it can radically forever change your love life. And I don't say that lightly. In the last group that I did, we had a woman who was there with us who was 69 years old, and she had been divorced for 5 years, and she was thinking it was too late for her and that no one would want her. And in the 8 weeks, she started having more fun, getting out there dating, and she was going on dates and sharing her experience of her dates and feeling much more attractive. And by the end of the 8 weeks, she'd met a man. And a few days after the program ended, they were in an exclusive relationship. And she said, if this can happen for me, it can happen for anyone. Right. And this is my purpose. I'm a yes for you. I really want you to have a breakthrough in your love life. I really do. And I want to let you know that there is a bonus that expires today. And before I share with you what that bonus is, because it's one I'm very excited about, I do want to share with you information about how you can get signed up. So you can click the link that I just put into the chat, where you can go and get all the details about the program. And there is a link to sign up there as well. And I will just do a brief share here to walk you through some of the pieces here. I'm not going to read all of this. You can come back and read Tracy's story, how I helped Tracy change her love life. And so what are we going to do in the program? So in week 1, we're going to set you up to create a miracle in your love life by creating a powerful intention for love that will be your North Star. As well, we're going to be getting a lot of clarity on what your own patterns are in your love life, what's been happening in your love life, and how they've been happening through you, how you've been creating them rather than them happening to you. This is the beginning of taking your power back, having that clarity about how you're creating it. Session 2, preparing for love. I'm going to talk and share with you about how to stay empowered no matter what's happening in your love life. This is very important because, as we know, dating has its ups and downs. And it's very important to learn how to stay on the path and not get taken off just because something difficult happened or you experienced a disappointment or something didn't go the way you wanted it to go. The fastest way to attract love is to learn how to stay on the path. And so we're also going to start some powerful manifesting practices. So this program is also a lot of fun. Session 3 is where we're talking about completing your past, because we're going to talk about 3 major inner love blocks that keep singles stuck. We're going to talk about how to release the energetic ties to past relationships. We'll talk about transforming toxic dynamics, releasing resentments, and discovering and letting go of old agreements. And this is really interesting because some of those agreements you might not even be aware of, and yet they're operating internally and influencing what's happening for you. In session 4, it's completely dedicated to your false love identity and transforming that. So I'm going to guide you through the 7-step process where I will guide you to name yours clearly, see how it's been creating your relationships through your actions, choices, and behaviors. And then I'm going to guide you to shift and name your true love identity and feel it in your body so that you can then see what you would naturally do differently through your actions, choices, and behaviors. We're also going to talk about the skills you're going to need to grow so that you can really set out to transform your relationships fully. Session 5 is the turning point of the program because we've talked about the love blocks, we've transformed the love blocks, and now we're looking towards your future possible self and stepping into what you actually have the potential to create in your love life. We're going to continue with more manifesting practices, so this is a really fun session. Session 6 is really dedicated to self-love, but a lot of people are confused about what self-love really is. So we're going to have a very deep conversation about what self-love really is and how to make a commitment to yourself as a foundation for receiving a commitment from a partner. Session 7 is about you becoming your strongest and healthiest version of yourself. We're going to continue to transform any lingering, disempowering beliefs about men, women, family, friends, other people. And in fact, so many people tell me that all of their relationships are up-leveled as a result of this work. We're also going to continue to grow new skills so that you really feel confident to navigate your relationships and the relationship with your beloved when you call them into your life. Session 8, we're going to talk about how to access your intuition. Remember, I said that once you are really connected to your true love identity, it's easier to hear your intuition. It's easier to recognize signs from life. This is how the manifesting things side of things work. And so we're going to continue that conversation and really talk about how to stay empowered and focused, centered in possibility of manifesting your soulmate. We're going to complete with a ritual ceremony to welcome your beloved into your life. The program takes place on Wednesdays for 8 weeks. We're meeting on Zoom. There's going to be recordings of the sessions. There's also going to be reading and journaling material in between the sessions so that you really get the most out of the program. And I have some amazing bonuses, including one that expires today. So let's talk about those. So there are 2 bonus Saturday morning sessions at the same time that we're meeting now today. Those Saturday sessions are really just to make sure that you're getting supported at the deepest level so that you get all your questions answered and really understand how to apply the material to yourself. And especially if you live in Europe or another part of the world where the Wednesday sessions are difficult for you, this is your opportunity to get live support from me. And so the dates for the Saturday sessions are Saturday, August 16th and Saturday, September 6th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time. There's also going to be a private Facebook group where you can interact with me and the other program participants as much as you want. And I'll answer any questions that are posted into the Facebook group so that you're really getting supported along the way. Meet your match, the 4 key soulmate indicators. These soulmate indicators help you stop wasting time on the wrong ones and finally recognize your soulmate. This special training will put you on track to find the love of your life and quickly know who to invest your time and your heart and your energy with. I support so many singles who are clearly dating wrong people. And it's easy for me to see that. And it's easy for me to see it even in their first interactions with people. And so what would it be like if you knew how to evaluate your dating partner so that you're not getting overly invested in people who are wrong and then feeling heartbroken and then taking months to get over the heartbreak when you could have known right away? This is going to help you meet your person faster. And there's some testimonials here of people that have done that training with me. This is the bonus that expires today at midnight. Create your standout online dating profile. Let's face it, if you've done any amount of online dating, you've probably experienced your eyes glazing over while reading the dating profiles because they all sound the same, right? And so how can you make your profile stand out in the sea of potential prospects so that your soulmate actually recognizes you? In this training, you're going to learn how to create a truly magnetic and authentic profile for you and have it be one that has your soulmate stop in their tracks and reach out to you. These are some of the responses that I received from actual men in response to my dating profiles years ago when I was doing online dating often, right? So for example, hands down, the best profile I've read yet. I love this one, is really funny. Your intro is by far the most interesting and fun of any I've read so far. Wait, I just admitted spending way too much time to reading dating profiles. No, really, if your intro is any indication as to the uniqueness of your personality, you are amazing. These are so fun to read. Like they're really real responses from men. And you could have your dating profile have that effect on partners too. Here are some testimonials of how people have changed their dating experiences with online dating after getting my support. There's also some client testimonials of people that have done the Calling in the One program and how it's changed their experience of dating and their relationships. There's videos to watch, there's testimonials. I already shared Mary's story, who was 69 years and met her guy during the program. I also love this one from Diana. Diana was living with her boyfriend during COVID, and yet that was making them more connected and close than they'd ever been, which for her was overwhelming. And so she found herself behaving in ways that sabotaged the relationship. He broke up with her and moved out, and she was devastated. And that's when she came to me for coaching. And so we got clear on her false love identity and how it was causing her to sabotage the relationship. so that she was able to really get centered in her true value and her worth and start to see what she could do differently. And so she started then getting out there and dating again, and she started having more fun dating, and things started to shift for her. And a few weeks later, her boyfriend came back into her life. He ended up a month later proposing, and they ended up going to Hawaii and getting married. Such a fun story, right? There are so many other testimonials of people that have changed their experience with online dating as a result of the program and working with me. So right now, for a limited time, you can get 37% off and join us for 8 weeks for only $497. Normally, this would be $795 for the program, or you can do a payment plan of $279. So you can choose which option you're interested in, either pay in full, $497, or two payments of $279. So you just click the button that you're interested in, and we would love to have you join us. So if you're feeling energized and inspired, if something in you has been lighting up about the conversation, I've loved seeing Eva here, like laughing with everything I'm sharing here, because you're really getting my energy. I can see it. You're getting my energy. I want to have fun with this, and this can be fun. Transforming your love life can actually be fun. If you're feeling a deep yes, I would love to have you join us. We start this Wednesday. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Adjust for your time zone wherever you are in the world. And remember, there's that special bonus that expires today at midnight where I'm going to help you transform your dating experience with online dating. And that's really fun too when you start to have fun and having it be easy. What to expect when you join the program. It's going to be a small, intimate group of people, no more than 12. And so you're going to receive lots of personalized support, live coaching from me, and be guided through a 7-step process to transform your false love identity so that you really begin showing up centered in your value. Your true love identity is where you're going to be magnetic to love. I'm also going to help you release those 3 other love blocks that are also important to really transform, that we're going to be doing in session 2 when we're completing your past. So this is really sacred work. It's really effective work. And like I said, it's this combination of spiritual transformation with also making it very practical and concrete, things that you can actually go out in the world and do differently right away. And so if your heart is saying yes, then I invite you to join us, right? And so I'm going to be taking some questions. If you have questions for me, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll take a few minutes to go back and answer them. And as promised, I have a free gift for you, which is my Manifest Your Soulmate Meditation. My mentor, Catherine Woodward Thomas, the creator of the Calling in the One program, has said that she would follow me anywhere for my meditations. So you're going to get one free, and you're going to be added to my email list. When you signed up for the session today, I received your email, and I'll add that to my email list. And in the first email from me, there is a link to download my Manifest Your Soulmate Meditation, and it will support you to energetically align with the love that you desire. And so I encourage you to listen to it often, daily even, and let me know your feedback. I've received a lot of great feedback from that.